Well, that was quick, wasn't it? Ohio State, they win against Wisconsin 34 nothing. Not They cruised in that second half. There wasn't really anything else to go on there. But if anyone watched the last drive of the Wisconsin's last drive where they just went for it on fourth down, man, Aaron Scott, what a hit. That honestly reminded me of, I believe that was the 2019 Big Ten championship game where the Wisconsin quarterback was scrambling out, trying to get to the end zone, and got popped. And I believe might have been concussed. I can't remember. But it was a huge hit, and that was in the last play of the game, and then Ohio State. Kind of fitting to have that. Luke Fickell probably just played his last, or not played, but coached his last game at Wisconsin today. Wisconsin has not scored a single point in 2 weeks against Michigan. Their last point scored was against Michigan, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, Michigan's definitely going to destroy Ohio State this year. Yep, that makes sense. But anyways, if anyone doesn't know who Aaron Scott is, by the way, he was the recruit that did the Ohio State jersey in the Michigan backpack thing when he announced his his commitment. He had these backpacks, and he had a Michigan one. He zipped up. He had the Michigan one. Took an Ohio State jersey out of a Michigan backpack, which I think was actually kind of funny. But Julian Sayin, I think the graphic said, was the first quarterback ever to throw 400 yards since C.J. Stroud, which I think is really interesting. But it's also really not that surprising. Kyle McCord was not throwing for 400 yards in a game. I'm honestly surprised Will Howard didn't, but really you only think about Will Howard in like the prime Ohio State Will Howard was during that playoff run, but Will Howard wasn't really playing in most of those games. I shouldn't say most of them. Like when Will Howard was at his peak when he was throwing the ball was the Tennessee game, obviously, and he didn't even play the entire game then. So it makes sense. 300 yards, Will Howard, I think, definitely threw over 300 yards in multiple games, especially in the playoff run. 400 is impressive for saying, but Luke Fickell probably just coached his last game in Wisconsin. They are probably booing him off the field right now. They just showed a footage of him walking off the field, and he went like this. So they're probably booing him. So we'll see. Not a whole lot to really talk about. The night games are going to be awesome tonight. USC, Notre Dame, the Holy War, Utah, and BYU. I think I mentioned this in the halftime video, but you know what I mean. Tennessee, Alabama, which is another great rivalry game. I'm gonna say Alabama wins that against Tennessee. Unfortunately, if there was gonna be another team I would root for in college football besides Ohio State, it would be Tennessee. Like, it's Ohio State, and then way down below is Tennessee. So it's unfortunate for me because I like Tennessee. I would say I'm gonna go ahead. Utah beats BYU. I think they should have beaten BYU last year in a down year. If Utah was at its full strength last year, they beat that BYU team that by probably a good 14 to 21 points. So there's that, and then the USC and Notre Dame game. I hope Southern Cal wins that game. The fact that Notre Dame is not in the conference and continues to be rewarded by being put in the playoffs is ridiculous to me. The fact they got a home game last year was ridiculous. And honestly, I hope if Notre Dame does make the playoffs that they go to Bloomington, Indiana, and Indiana destroys them by 21 points. Kind of in the same fashion that they destroyed Indiana last year. Because they will. Indiana will pack that place, and Notre Dame really doesn't have a home field advantage. Notre Dame and Southern Cal, honestly, are like NFL stadiums. There are no comparison to the Big House in Michigan or Bryant-Denny in Alabama or Sanford Stadium in Georgia or Ohio Stadium. when Ohio Stadium is at its peak. I get the NFL has like the record for the sound barrier and stuff, but it's not consistent. The NFL is not consistent. So like the Notre Dame environment and the Southern Cal environment, and especially and not even UCLA. UCLA is like a high school game. Honestly, their environments. There's better high school environments than USC. It sucks because that stadium is awesome. But it's whatever. Well, and there's just not a lot to talk about in this game. Browns is tomorrow. We got the Dolphins. I think the Browns can win that game. Honestly, it's at home. The Dolphins, all just like the Browns, are like their head coach is probably. I don't want to see the thing. I do not want to fire Kevin Stefanski. I know last week I was extremely mad, but that you can catch me at every Steelers game when we lose the Steelers. I'm annoyed. Every Browns fan is annoyed. So we all get that. I don't want to fire Kevin Stefanski at all. So I think if he has the same year that he's having this year and the year before, next year, then you fire Kevin Stefanski. I don't think there's a world where you fire Andrew Berry at all after the draft class that he just had. But anyways, the Dolphins, they are in the same boat that the Browns in right now. Everyone wants to fire Mike McDaniel. If Mike McDaniel is going to get fired, I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember the last time I watched a Dolphins game. I didn't even watch the Browns-Dolphins game last year. So they're just they're a team that never gets played on in my area. They're never on primetime games that really matter. So, I don't know. I know Tyreek Hill is out for the rest of the season, which sucks for him. Tua is on the verge of being, ousted at Miami. So you never know. But we'll see. I think the Browns win in Cleveland. They get a momentum shift. And that's my opinion on the Browns. But anyways, we'll finish off with Ohio State a little bit here. Ohio State's the number one team in the country. I don't think anyone's doubting that anymore. There's no way that anyone ranks, Georgia or Alabama or LSU over, even though LSU just lost, but you know what I mean? There's no way whoever is going to be number 2 in the AP poll coming up is going to be anybody. There's no way that I don't even know who's at number 3 anymore. There's no way Ohio State's getting bumped down to 2 is what I'm trying to say. They shouldn't. And we'll see what happens for the rest of the year. I think everyone, especially Ohio State right now, or everyone for Ohio State fans is considered. Everyone expects this team to go 12-0 this year. Maybe you go 11-1. I really don't think you're losing to Michigan this year, but there's always that little chance. I said that last year, and I was extremely confident in that last year. And, we ended up losing at home, and the whole flag plant fight thing happens. So, do I want to say I'm guaranteeing a win against Michigan this year? Of course I do. I think every Ohio State fan wants to do that. And I think every Michigan fan wants to guarantee a win against Ohio State, and they can't even do that anymore. And they never really could, because Ohio State always has, since I was born, has always had the talent edge over Michigan. Michigan just in the past 5 years has now had the coaching advantage. And they've had the mind game advantage. And what are you going to do about that? They're going to have home field advantage. I think Underwood, here's the thing. Bryce Underwood is a great, great quarterback, but he's also 18 years old. He is a year and a few months younger than I am. So I get the reason why everyone is so high on him, because we just saw Jeremiah Smith basically do the same thing that he's doing, just at another position. But Michigan is not a team where a quarterback can come in and immediately be elite. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, the best quarterback Michigan has had since Brady was J.J. McCarthy, I think. Unless I'm completely leaving out someone that I have no idea. And J.J. McCarthy is a system quarterback. Sorry. And Tom Brady wasn't even that great at Michigan. If he was that great, he wouldn't have gone in whatever round he went in, or whatever late round that he went in. I can't remember what it was. But J.J. McCarthy is a system quarterback. No one can tell me different. You can point at all these analytics and everything. Michigan had a great team that year because of Connor Stallions. Also, no one can convince me otherwise of that either. So, what are you going to do? So, anyways, that's my little rant for the rest of the day today. I'll see you tomorrow. We got Browns and Dolphins. Till then, OH.